Hello, Marvin. How are you?
I'm doing.
How is your
Sorry
afternoon?
about that. My afternoon is okay.
So, Marvin, it has not been so easy sliding into your schedule, but I'm so happy that finally I slid into it. Yeah. So it's a pleasure having you here.
I'm super delighted to be part of this platform too.
Okay. So today's topic is about the face of racism now. You being a lawyer, I think it's going to be, very easy for us to make some meaningful, package of things right now. So I'm so delighted to have a lawyer here. The death of George Floyd has caused a lot of outrage all over the world. This came after a Minneapolis officer put him down and knelt on his neck for almost 9 minutes. This man, George, kept on saying, I can't breathe, but this man could not listen to anything. He continued with what he was doing, and his face showed that I'm okay, what I'm doing is just normal. George was suspected of forgery, and after that case, when the man died, he was these 4 men, actually there were 4 men, they were fired from work, but yeah, Chauvin was the only one arrested because he was the only one who was involved in the direct killing, and the other ones were just fired. And due to a lot of angriness from the people, they started protesting. Yeah, protests started as peaceful ones and then ended up being violent protests that included looting, demolishing of things, buildings, businesses, etc. And it started in the cities of US like New York City, Washington, D.C., LA, and then they expanded to different areas, different places like London and Germany and other areas. Yeah. So due to public demand, a week after, they changed. Remember, Derek Chauvin was charged with a 3rd-degree murder. Yeah. So due to the protests that were ongoing, they decided to change the 3rd-degree murder to a 2nd-degree murder. And then the other 3 men who were not arrested were arrested and charged of aiding someone to commit murder. Yeah. And we very well know that these are not the only people who have faced racial profiling. George is not the only one. You remember the case of Ahmed Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and many others. The Americans have used many approaches to solve this problem of, racism, like protesting peacefully. Before they were protesting peacefully, and different ways of activism, doing their activism in different ways, but peacefully. So do you think this new way of protesting is going to be of help?
Thank you for bringing up such a wonderful discussion. And this is a very broad discussion, which needs intensive analysis and knowledge about it. So when you talk of racism, there are things that you cannot deal away with. There are concepts of racism that you cannot go when you have not talked about them. So those concepts may include ethnicity, they may include tribalism and racism itself. So most of the scholars have failed to distinguish between, let's for example, ethnicity and racism. But to what I understand by racism, me, I belong to the school of thought that thinks that any situation of discrimination or unfairness may amount to racism. So that is a very broad definition I can give to racism. You may think it is restricted to color, black and white, but any kind of discrimination, it should be regarded as racism. Though scholars have tried to differentiate it and divide various concepts which include tribalism, where there is a belief in reality to which tribe you belong to, ethnicity that is bound by most of the common ties, which include language and culture. But nonetheless, we are facing the same problem, which is discrimination and unfairness.
Yeah.
So when you see the incident that happened of recent in America, the so-called a man on his knee, it was very absurd. It was a very disturbing action that happened there. It may be not necessarily be racist, but it was a crime. Though the crime that has been happening and it was swept under the carpet, the crime that has been happening to blacks being killed by whites, and it was swept. So this was just a spark that led all this that we are seeing. I think this is the best approach one can use to fight for his rights. For me, to the best of my understanding, the last shot or the last line of defense someone can use is civil disobedience. When the law does not protect you, then you resort to civil disobedience. You obey all those you disobey all the laws and tactically seek for your right. So this is the best approach. We have seen very many movements that have succeeded, and if the blacks are going to use this Black Lives Matter movement and use it carefully, they are going to achieve what it is intended to achieve. Though we have seen that now it is turning, the media is bending the objective of saying that now we have routers and riots. They are turning to be riots. If you have been on street, he moves with his or her phone and he records every incident that is happening on street. So I don't believe what the media, the Western media, is trying to project, or what it is trying to portray, that these are routers and these are riots. No. We have the movement has been penetrated by other motives that is not intended to achieve what the objective of the movement. So we need to be careful on the information we are getting, and we need to be very smart on analyzing all these issues. And to your question of saying whether this is the right approach, I can tell you that this is the last line of defense, and I believe that it is going to change, because from the past, for America to change any situation that is affecting its citizens, there has to be a movement. We have seen movements of blacks fighting for their rights to vote. That was in 1870 plus. We have seen the women movement also trying to advocate for their rights to vote. That was in 1970s, which was it was in 1920s and was effected in 1965. So all these movements have been successful, and I believe that this is going to be a successful movement, and it is the right approach. Over to you, moderator.
Okay, thank you so much. Personally, I also think this is something that, they have been overpressed, and they have tried all the means that they could try, and things are not moving like they want them to be. So they have to use the last resort in order to get justice and, be able to live with them, with the people who call themselves superior, yet I don't think they are. So there is something that really scared me, like the president, Donald Trump, said that when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Yeah. So don't you think this might end up into something that we all know can turn out to be so ugly?
It is already ugly. It is already ugly because when you look at what is happening, the movement has been penetrated by an organization called the Antifa. If you are aware
The
of the
what?
Antifas, Antifas, these
Oh.
are anti-fascists. So these people, their motive is to discredit Trump and to target for the coming election. So Trump is also reacting to the protesters who have been penetrated by the movement that is against Trump. So it is not that Trump is fighting the movement, because this started as a peaceful movement. The law in America allows demonstration. It allows a peaceful demonstration, not
Yeah.
like other countries where they have stringent procedures when one wants to demonstrate his right. So the fight between the organization that is within the movement and the ruling party. But for the black people have to be careful with what they are doing, because if you have been following, you see clips of whites, they are giving money to blacks to go and destroy properties. We have even seen the police themselves. That's why I was saying from the word go that we have to credit the technology. We cannot rely on what the media is showing us. They are showing us streamed videos which do not reflect what is happening on ground. So the fight between Trump and the movement is more broad than what we see on face of it.
Okay. In brief, this has turned to be political, right?
That is exactly what I'm saying.
Oh, that is so unfortunate. So when we go to this issue of third degree murder, oh, now it was changed to a second degree murder. Do you, as a lawyer in your professional view, do you think it is okay for someone who killed someone in a broad daylight, yet even the judge tried to say, I can't breathe, and this man didn't listen? Do you feel like it is really professional for the law enforcement people to take it as a second degree murder? Yeah. Do you think it
Second
is
degree
okay?
murder. Um, when you look at the law of Minnesota State, when it comes to the conviction of murder, this gentleman was convicted. First, of course, the first charge was third degree murder.
Yeah,
And
third.
when you read the context of third degree murder, the third degree murder is to the effect that whoever without intent effects the death of someone, then he or she can be convicted of third degree murder. But when you look at the facts that we have at hand, do not fall within the ambits of the section of third degree murder. Because what the Attorney General was trying to tell us is that this man had no intent of killing George. But when you see the fact, they portray the intention of killing.
Yeah,
The
the
first
video says
intention,
something different.
yes, the first intention is the act of kneeling on someone's neck for 8 to 9 minutes.
9
That is
minutes, yeah.
intentional. The second intentional act is of ignoring the bystanders. This man was warned by the bystanders, you are
Yeah.
killing someone. The man proceeded to do his unlawful acts, which I think it is intentional. And the last and the most important intentional act that Derek did was to ignore what George was telling him.
Yeah, the
George
man
was
said,
telling him,
I can't breathe, but he didn't listen.
with all those facts, you can now tell that there was intentional act of killing, and indeed there was death. So it was a mockery charge of the Attorney General in Minnesota to charge Derek with the third-degree murder. So because of the movement, I think they are trying to lift it up to the second-degree murder. But it is in black and white. It was a broad day murder, and this guy should be convicted of murder. And when you look at even the sentencing guidelines or the years of conviction, third-degree murder takes for 20. It amounts 25 years in imprisonment, which I don't think this man deserves. Someone who has taken someone's life and need to have that punishment that he or she deserves. So it was a mockery, and they need to revise the charge and increase the conviction of the one Derek.
Yeah, but I think they already upgraded it to second-degree murder, not so?
Yes, they did. They did. I learned of it.
I'm just
today
wondering,
that they have
why
amended
is
the
it?
charge.
Yeah, why is it after 7 days that they had to see this? I mean, these injustices are so there, like they're so in broad daylight. Why did they first think of, why 7 days, and why after all these protests?
As I was saying, it was a mockery charge. It was a mockery charge, and that's why we are fighting. That's why there is a movement. Any situation of unfairness or discrimination, it amounts to racism. So without a movement, I think we would have not known that this guy or we would have not charged the guy with second-degree murder. So the movement is on the right track, and it is causing changing. It is causing a change, and one of the changes is see this guy convicted of second-degree murder.
Okay, thank you so much. So, do you think? Let's first shift the table to the other three guys. Yeah. Do you think what they were charged of is, right? Because they were just charged with aiding the murderer do his murder. Yeah.
Yes, the whole incident involved apart from Derek, the other three cops. So we see the two were on George's back, and as Derek was on his neck, and there was another one who was protecting the bystanders from intervening. Mm-hmm. So when you look at the report that came in from the independent report from the family of George, when you read it, it tells you that George succumbed to death due to neck and back compressions. So me, I'm of the view that the two cops that were on the back, the underlining word is neck and back. So those two also committed a crime of murder, and the third one that was standing should be the one convicted of being accomplice to the crime. Being accomplice means to aid someone, to just like the way they charged those people, those other three. But the two of them that were on George's back should also be charged of murder, because the medical report is very clear what caused the death of George. And then the last one who was standing is the one to be charged of being accomplice to the crime.
Okay. So that is so wonderful. But when we look at what is happening right now, because the protesters are still going on, can you give us some insights of what you expect to be going on like later after, like them showing, feeling that they really want justice and all that? Do you have any insights of what could actually happen afterwards?
As I have said earlier, that the movement is on the right track, other than what is being portrayed of it by routers and other people with their own interests. Because without a movement, we would not have seen the amendment of the charge to the second-degree murder. Without a movement, we would not have seen this man convicted, and without a movement, there was going to be more of suffering. So I can assuredly tell you that this is the right approach the blacks have taken, and I recommend them because it has worked and it is going to work. We have seen many revolutions that have brought change, and I think this is the time. This is the time when change has to happen in America, and I am also behind the movement. Really, Black Lives Matter.
Okay, so Marvin, as we conclude, I want you to just, briefly, this is a broad topic, but I want you to briefly give us an insight of, the child, because we also, like, Africans have a problem with racism in countries like China. Actually, in a few weeks, it was headlined that people in China were suffering so terribly. So I just want you to, say something about that, and then you give your conclusive remarks. Yeah.
Okay. When it comes to China, we received many reports talking of how the Africans in China are suffering, and that's what we are talking about. That in every nation where there is a Black person, his or her life matters, and it is not only in America that we are seeing the movement. It is also happening. It is also happening because when the movement just started in one state, but we are seeing people coming up in many countries. We have seen France, people are coming up, and it will not surprise you when you see also the Blacks in China are joining the movement. This is not a one nation movement. It is a worldwide movement.
Yeah.
So racism is a very broad topic that we cannot sit down in 1 hour and intensively discuss it. But on reality of what is happening, I think we should stick to the objective of the movement, and we should not be diverted by whatever is happening within the movement by different organizations. Because the right objective of the movement is that the rights of Black people have to be revived and taken into consideration. And I think this is our time to rise up and support our brothers and sisters in those countries so that they can achieve the best of life.
Okay. Thank you so much, Marvin. It was nice having you here. Yeah. And I also believe in justice. So I think justice should always prevail. And if someone says something wrong, they should intervene. Like they should join us. Because one thing that I know is if you don't take sides, if you're just there and you're acting like you're neutral, it means you're siding with the oppressor, right? So in order not to side with the oppressor, you need to stand for something. You're either with us or not. It's not that I'm neutral. I don't know who is right and who is wrong. So we should always get together as one. If you really feel like something is not right, we should stand up together and fight, for our rights. Because we are all humans. We are all humans. We are the human race. I don't like this thing of, saying this one is Indian, this one is what, this one is yellow, white, black, and all that. We are all one person. So it's been nice having you here. It's too bad that this is Corona season. I would have, we would have had this meeting on one-on-one, but even Zoom does it better, right? Yeah, so I think we have to, let me first thank the people who have joined us. Yeah, I can see someone who have joined us to have this discussion, and, they have spared their time to be with us because this is something very important. So let me wish you a very nice day, and I think the conversation can continue later on our personal, inboxes, right?
Thank you for hosting me, and have a nice day.